This is the place 3-year-old Hannah Eberhardt has known as home, but it is unclear if she will ever return.
The only people that knew were the immediate family that was there that watched us leave on the plane.
A plane that took her nearly 800 miles away.
That day wasn't moving away for us.
To Denver, Colorado.
That day for us was Hannah's going to get better. Hannah's going to get what she needs.
What she needed was something she could not get at home.
We opted to come here for the legal access of the oil, the doctor that would allow us to do so, a much less intensive and invasive chemotherapy protocol. Okay, good job. There's one.
We met Hannah in a Denver park 3 months after she was diagnosed with cancer.
ALK positive, stage 4 anaplastic large cell lymphoma. You have all the strawberries.
And 2 months after being diagnosed in remission.
Within a month of her being here, she was in remission. The last scan was completely clear. They were shocked.
Every morning and night, she takes one of these.
This is just the oil that we made into a chocolate.
1 part THC, a psychoactive part of marijuana, 1 part CBD or cannabis oil, a more medically recognized part of the plant.
She takes nothing for pain, she takes nothing for fever, she doesn't have fevers. She takes nothing for nausea.
It has helped her sleep during her 18 weeks of chemotherapy.
There's countless other people back in the Quad Cities that need this, that can't have it.
There's no reason why these sick and suffering Iowans should have to wait.
Iowa Senator Joe Bolcom is trying to change that. Right now in Iowa, patients with severe forms of epilepsy can use cannabis oil, but they can't get it in Iowa. The law went into effect last July, but critics argue the law has helped no one.
If you break those state laws in order to get the medicine, then you have to break federal laws to transport it back, either driving it across state lines or flying back here.
This year, Bolcom introduced and passed a bill that allows for production and distribution in the state, expands on the type of medical marijuana a patient could use, and adds additional conditions that qualify for its use. But the House does not anticipate running the bill this year.
When you have the federal government saying one thing, not having it FDA approved, and it means that you have to really craft the legislation carefully so that you don't counteract federal laws. And we just haven't figured out our way around it yet.
In March, a Des Moines Register poll found 70% of Iowa adults in favor of legalizing marijuana for medical uses, up from 59% a year ago.
Who's going to distribute it, how you're going to regulate it, who you're going to tax. Everybody seems to think it may be an okay idea until you get into the details.
She also has an issue with data.
And when you have lack of empirical data and all you have are personal stories about I like to smoke pot, it doesn't really work very well.
And so do some doctors.
It's a very volatile issue to some folks. If I was in their position and I saw it work for my family member, I'd be I would be strong for it as well.
Jeff Mayer is the president of the Iowa Medical Society, an organization that's lobbied to change the drug scheduling of marijuana so there can be more research, but against the bill expanding the current law.
Medical marijuana is not at a point where we can actually prescribe it. It's not at a point where we have a safe medication delivery model, and therefore we would recommend studying how to do that instead of prescribing something for those patients.
Others in the medical community are pushing to expand medical marijuana to more patients.
Medical cannabis is a medicine.
Representative John Forbes has been a pharmacist for 35 years.
So this is one tool in the toolbox that doctors can prescribe or, as I like to say, recommend to patients when the other conventional medications aren't working the way they should be.
Hundreds of miles away.
What if it was your child? What would you do?
Is a mom.
Could you honestly live your life knowing that there's something out there that could help somebody and not hurt them at the same time?
Me higher.
Who knew the only answer to that
Let's go in the shade, guys.
was to leave a place she'd always known as home.
It's up there.